Here we are.
Well, hello, everyone. I'll get things started here while a couple of our other guests there we go. My name is Sam Flancher. I'm a programmer for the Chicago International Film Festival, and we're excited to welcome everyone to one of our virtual Q&As. We've been doing these every week for the past couple of weeks, and we'll be doing them sort of into the future. So if you like what you see today, stay tuned for sure. Today we'll be talking about Alelí, which just premiered on Netflix a couple weeks ago, I believe. And we're joined by Alelí director Leticia Jorge Romero and Romina Peluffo, the actress who plays Silvana in the film. So welcome to you both. How are you both doing? If you could actually say where you're calling in from, that would be great too.
Well, hi, thank you for having us here. And we are calling from Uruguay, actually. I'm Leticia. She's Romina, sitting there in her red couch.
Yeah, same. We are Uruguay.
And Alelí was something of an audience favorite, a real hit at the 55th Chicago International Film Festival. And both of you joined us there, so we're so thrilled to have you back here talking Alelí. I just want to start by asking about sort of your inspiration for the project and how the project came to be. So maybe you could both talk a little bit about that. First, you, Leticia, and then Romina after.
Well, actually, you know, Alelí, it's about a family. So the inspiration came from there, from people that Ana Guevara, who is my partner, we wrote the script together. We were both going through similar things. I lost my grandmother, she lost hers. So we had these cracks in our family structure in a way, you know, and we got to see our fathers and our uncles and aunts going through a rough patch. And it was kind of terrible in a way, but it was also funny if you look at it the right way. So the inspiration came from there. And actually the inspiration from Silvana, like in a distant way, came from Romina. So she can talk about that.
Well, yes, the first scripts and the first treatments that Leti and Anita wrote didn't have this character. There were only two siblings, the older sister and the younger brother, and there was no Silvana. There was
She got there later, like in the film.
Yeah, in every way. And it was, I mean, I think it was because we are friends. We've been friends for a long time, and we've worked together many times. And we worked together in a short film that Anita and Leti did before Alelí. And I had a small role there, small part. And I think we were all happy with that, when the way that went. And so then they decided to rewrite the script, because there was the daughter of Ernesto was an important character. It wasn't as big as Silvana is now, but there was like this plot with Ernesto and her daughter, but I couldn't be the daughter of Nestor because I'm not that young. So
and he's not that old, actually.
No, he's not that old. So they kind of decided to rewrite the script, and so I became this like young sister. And
very young, very beautiful sister.
I got really lucky. There, because then this character came along, and I was lucky enough to play it.
And Leticia, can you talk about that shifting the focus then? Because Silvana is such a central character to sort of the emotional core of the film. Can you talk about adjusting things based on Romina's input and performance?
Yes, I'm going to. I'm sorry, but Agustina, that is the producer, is trying to get into the meeting. She's asking if we can let her in.
Okay, yeah.
She's knocking the door.
Yeah, she's knocking at the door.
We should be able to let the producer in here.
Yeah, well, so actually it was like, there was a character that it was not Silvana, it was kind of Ernesto's daughter, but she was younger, so she had all these issues, but she was in her 20s, so it wasn't that such a big deal, you know. When we decided that we were going to write this part for Romina, the film kind of got into place in a way. I feel like the character of Silvana was what the film needed the script needed to be the whole picture of the family. So it was because I wanted to work with her and Nestor, and I needed them not to be father and daughter because it wasn't believable. But in the end, it worked for the greater good in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so throughout the process, would you say that you were writing these characters specifically for the actors, or at what point in the process did you sort of envision the actors as they came to be?
Well, with Silvana, it was from the start. I wrote it for her, with her in my mind. And with Nestor, I already worked with him in my previous movie, Tanta Agua, So Much Water. And I didn't start like writing it for him, but at the end, I was writing it for him, you know, because I had the thing that he wasn't at all. I needed like an older guy, but at the end, I wanted to work with Nestor again. So, and he has like this quality, like an actor that I felt like the character needed it. But that was it. The other actors came from a casting process.
Yeah. And I think Agustina is here. Agustina, if you could turn on your video so we could see you. Can you hear us, Agustina?
Hi.
Hi there again.
Agustina, I think maybe your audio still isn't working. We can't hear you, I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're not hearing you, unfortunately.
Okay, and now.
Ahora sí.
Oh, there it is.
Muy bien.
I take this out.
Okay, there we go. Well, everyone, please welcome Alelí producer Agustina Chiarino to the
I mean, the countryside with these problems we have here, you know, connection problems and everything.
Yeah. Hey, well, Agustina, why don't you start? Why don't you say a few words about sort of how you became involved in the project?
Well, we did, some years ago, we did the first film directed by Leticia and another director, Ana Guevara, that was called So Much Water, Tanta Agua. That was well, it was not the first time we worked together because we did a short film before, 2 short films afterwards. And so this was like something that Leti has written before Tanta Agua. And I came across, I knew about the project and I came across during the process. So it was like, she had it from before, but then she after So Much Water, she took it out again. So this is kind of, and the idea was also that for me, I really wanted to produce a comedy, more comedy style. And I thought that this was a project that made me laugh a lot and that I really enjoyed, but in an intelligent way. So, and I also enjoy a lot working with Leti. So it was like something that was like, from the beginning, was something to be done.
Yeah, so it seems like a pretty close, tight-knit creative group if everyone's working together sort of film after film. Can you talk about like crafting the team and sort of building trust creatively? That question could be for any one of you.
Well, actually, we all work together like in different roles, in different projects. Well, Agustina tends to be the producer always, but Romina also works in crew, you know. Actually, she acted in a short film that I directed and Agustina produced, and she was also the assistant director. So she was like all dressed up and up with the makeup and the, you know, all at the same time.
It's not,
she's that kind of girl.
Don't do it at home. You shouldn't do that without parent. Now it was an exception because you can't be an assistant director and an actor at the same time.
You had a lot of fun. Stop complaining.
I did, but it was special because we were friends, and the second AD was like really, he was qualified to be the first AD, so he covered for me during those the moments where I had to go to makeup. I had a lot more fun of course, being an actress and being an assistant director, but I did both in that short film. Yes. And once a long time ago, I directed one film, and Leti was working with me.
I was her assistant, actually. Yeah,
I produced it.
Yes, that is true.
Right. So it's a very tiny country, and we are always the same, you know.
I've been your assistant many times, I have to say.
Yes, it's true.
I have worked for you, my dear.
Yes, now I work for you.
Well, we work together.
I want to talk about the process of working together. The performances in the film are so tender and real, and the characters feel very lived in. If that maybe makes some sense. So could you talk a bit about sort of establishing the relationships, like actor to actor, and then maybe director to actor to actor? Like, how did you work to develop that sort of natural feeling and natural connection between the characters?
Well, I start with the relationship between the actor and me, like you said, because like it's the first thing to start to communicate to the actor what I need, and to find out the way to treat him or treat her, you know, because they are different people from each other. And with Romina, it was easy in a way because we were friends, but it was also a challenge for her because it was her first big role in a way. She kind of relaxed into the role, and it was okay. And then I work in the relationship between actor and character, and between characters. You know, I rehearse a lot. We have a lot of we had a lot of rehearsal days, and we worked through the scenes, and we worked through the text, and we did some improvisation, and then some of that came into the movie. We kind of write it all down, the things that we rescue from the improvisation process. And the relationship between the actors themselves, it was all on their own, you know, they are grown-ups, they were working together. Yeah. Mainly.
And Romina, can you talk a bit about working with Nestor on developing your characters together? It's such like a core strength of the film, I think, especially towards the end.
Well, yes, it's how Leti said. For me, the work with her was easy in a way because we were friends. I'm repeating the same words, but because it's true. And it was a challenge for me. But it's true, it was the first. I think when we started working, I was a little bit overwhelmed because for having the notion that it was a bigger role. But then I talked to Leti, and she said, "You're fine. You're gonna be fine. I chose you because you can do this." And it was like, go, like a really good coaching. And I relaxed. And the moment I relaxed, it was, I don't know, it was like flowing. It's a very close character for me. It's really, I'm close to her. I can, you know, and I like this. I'm from the school of not overthinking. So if it's well written, and it is greatly written, and the character is greatly, it's very, very beautifully written. So if you just say the words, if you just do what it's in the script, it will work because there's the character, you know. And then we worked, of course, we rehearsed, and there's a natural chemistry that we have with Nestor that I think that you can see. That's just chance, maybe. It's like we have that chemistry like human beings, I don't know. And we got along, and we really enjoyed the work. So we rehearsed a lot, but it was all fun and yeah.
Right. I want to ask about the design of the house of Alelí. I think the house feels very lived in and feels like it has a lot of history to it. Can you talk about sort of establishing that sense of through the design, establishing the sense of like this family's history, living and going to this beachside property?
You mean like the art direction design? like the design of the set. Well, actually, the house, Agustina and I, we drove a lot through different seaside places looking for this house, and we got to this one and we choose it. And then we have this friend, she's called Nicole, she's our art director. We also work together in several other projects. And we kind of brought a lot of things to this house from a lot of different houses, ours and our friends, and she painted all the walls, and she put wallpaper, so nothing was white. And we talk about this, and we knew these people. We talk about these people, and we kind of talk about the feeling of the flow of the space, you know, through the movie, from Lilian's house that is more similar to Alelí in a way, to Alelí, you know, like this bright walls and this kind of family who has these decorations, and the idea that maybe, and this is not in the movie, but we work about this, maybe Lilian is living in her parents' house, you know, like the dad died, the grandma moved to an apartment, and she inherited the main house. So we work about this connection between these two locations in a way.
Great. And I just a note for the audience, if you do have a question, if you're watching on our website, you can click through to YouTube and type it into the chat on YouTube. So we'll get to some of those questions in a bit. I want to ask about sort of finding comedy through grief, or finding comedy in grief. I guess I want to ask, at what point did this become a comedy? Was it always intended to be a comedy? You
Yes.
mentioned you were going through something in your personal life that sort of ended up as what the film ended up being. Can you talk about grief and comedy and sort of the relationship between those two?
Well, you know, Woody Allen has this saying that comedy is tragedy plus time. It's like you need to let it go, and then you can laugh about it. And it was born like a comedy. It was always the main intention to make it a comedy, but we kind of, it grew on us, you know? It started like more subtle in a way, subtle. I don't know how to say this, subtle. And we kind of get carried away, and we let the characters run the show in a way, and started to play with this feeling of absurdity, you know, like real life have sometimes, and I don't know, emphasize, underlying like this maybe grotesque feeling that reality sometimes is more like a satire, that it was that.
There are so many moments in the film, so many like very specific moments. I'm thinking of the scene between the mother and daughter and the teacup, the dirty mugs and stuff. And that scene plays, it's very funny, but there's so much underneath.
Well, actually, that scene came it was in the last draft. In the beginning, we lost them and we got them back at the end of the movie. And in a moment, I started writing this very, very, very long scene that everybody say, you had to cut it, you had to, because it was, I don't know, 50 pages of only dialogues. And it was, I'm going to work with the actress, and it's going to be, we'll see. And it's, the whole thing is in the movie now, because when I ended it, I didn't know how to, you know, the dialogues, they follow each other, you can't get it out. So, and actually, I think that it's a very important scene, because you understand Lilian. You kind of, it gives the character a feeling of why is this woman like this also, you know, like it's easier to go to the beach house than to stay there in the kitchen with the mom. And actually, I think that I share kind of, at that point of the writing, I kind of share the process with Romina. You remember that?
I do.
We kind of edit that scene together in a car drive.
In the car.
Yeah, because
driving.
you were like, you have like the whole movie in your head all the time. I remember that talking a lot about the movie with you. That doesn't happen a lot with actors and actors. They kind of, and it's natural, think about the characters. And Romina was always like picturing the whole thing.
I remember we were going to Alelí for some rehearsal or for something, and you were driving and I was reading the script, and we were
and we were like, yeah, and saying the dialogues out loud.
Yeah, it was fun. Now that I think I should have a credit as a script.
You have all the credit, my dear. I'm giving it to you right now.
It's okay. It wasn't.
We're editing the IMDb page right now.
All right.
So we have a question from the audience that I'd like to get to. This question is from Jax. It's a question for Lady around the decision to include the ghost of the father throughout the film. We know that Ernesto is haunted by his dad's death. When did you decide to show the physical form of his father?
Well, actually, I was kind of afraid of letting him be more of a mystery, you know. I didn't want him to feel like a close character that you watch, you see him do all this stuff, but you can get closer to him. So as he wasn't talking about it, I say, okay, this is a movie. We can go inside his head if we want to. I mean, and I like a lot Moretti's film, you know, Nanni Moretti, and he does the things, kind of like look that way, and his mother is there, even if she's dead. So it was kind of a poetic way of telling it, and it was like easy to think, okay, we are going to try this, and if it doesn't work, I mean, we can take it out. It's him looking that way. But it worked. I think you have like this feeling of his grief accentuated by this presence that follows him.
Yeah. We have another question from the audience. Rihanna Jackson asks, Alelí is a flower, right? Why is it really called Alelí?
Well, actually, yes, it is a flower, and I wanted a name that it was the initials of the main characters' names, but that also was a word, you know. And I was kind of playing with letters, and I got Alelí. That it was also a flower, so it's kind of, you know, like my grandma put the name his beach house because of a flower. It's kind of like that kind of mentality in a way.
Yeah.
That thing of naming the house, I don't know if they do it everywhere, but it's very traditional here in Uruguay to name the house, the beach house, with the names of the members of the family. Many times, most of the times, it doesn't make sense. There are words that are califlo, anything, because the names don't make sense. But sometimes people get lucky and the word makes sense. And in this case, it's a word. Yeah. Alelí is also a word.
I think that scene where Silvana is sort of revealing what the name of the house means, I think it's a really special scene that's kind of indicative of a strength of the film, which is sort of going from 0 to 10, these like explosions of sort of the past kind of just bubbling up to the front, or these like simmering resentments sort of revealing themselves. And I think there's like a physicality that happens with the actors when these moments happen, and sometimes they're moments of violence with the glass shattering and things like that. So the physicality of the actors in general, I think, is an important part of the film. Can you talk about, like, there's some violence, there's some comedy, physical comedy. Can you talk about like sort of your process for blocking and working with the actors to make their movements feel the way they do?
It's really nice that you are saying this, because actually it wasn't written that way, you know. We started rehearsing the scene. They were sitting in these low chairs and they were talking the whole scene, everything from the start until she woke up, get up and left, was on the front of the house. And I felt that they were doing a good job, but it if you muted it, you didn't know what the scene was about. So I think that the movement and the physicality, this kind of tour de force of the actors, show in a visual way the fight that they are having. You know, actually he kind of loses it in a moment and puts his mind in something else, and she starts following. She starts insisting that he talk to her, and then he's up and she's down, and it's kind of like the power notion he has of the relationship. And she leaves, and she's like, why? He doesn't have an idea of how hurtful he was with her. And yes, we rehearsed that on set with the photographer, with the PD. How do you say this? PD. Yeah. So we all knew. We rehearsed with this ladder. Everything was like we use in the scene. So we all knew what was going on set when we shoot it. The actors, the cameraman, me, thankfully.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that there's physicality later in the film and different moments in the film used for humor, but there's a depth to it. I'm thinking specifically of when they're sort of imagining what the development properties are going to look like, and they're doing these large steps and sort of zoning the space out for people. It's like, it's very funny and almost like compositionally, I think it's very funny, but it also communicates this like the opposite direction, like, right? We have the house with its history and its past, and that you can feel that, but you're also sort of through these movements looking towards this sort of maybe horrible future, at least the way for some in the family.
Yes, it's like ripping it apart. It's like going through the process of cutting it, and like the cake scene. It's like the same thing that cutting the father and eating it. It's like this scene that going through the house, they saying, okay, like here it's going to be a swimming pool. Here it's going to be whatever. Yes, we work with these actors who came to play the developers, and they did this. It came from rehearsing, you know. It was written kind of like that, but this the son being taller and all, it came from the work with the actors in a way, like the humor of the interpretation, obviously. And it was kind of like this. I don't know how to say this, cine mudo, mute cinema, you know, like if you watch
silent cinema, no.
Silent cinema, yeah. Like I don't know, Tati with his big steps. Tati is in silent cinema, but he didn't talk a lot. Well, so it was kind of like that. And yes, it kind of represents a dark moment, but in a funny way.
Yeah. We have a couple more from the audience here. You're such a tight-knit group creatively. Daniel asks, what was the most enjoyable moment in the movie to film?
I don't know.
That's like choosing between your kids. It's like...
No, it was really fun to shoot, I have to say.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun.
We got there.
What?
For me, I know.
What?
For me, I think the funniest... What?
I mean, because we had to cancel the shooting several times. So when we did it, it was really good. For me, that was the best moment, the first day of shooting.
Yes,
it was really fun. The scene where we go to put the poison in the neighbor's tree. Or we ran.
Yes, it was really fun. We were singing all along. Yeah.
I was laughing so much. Like I was like having real fun.
That was a nice day.
Yeah. That one. The beach was fun as well, but it wasn't really fun because I mean it wasn't fun.
No, it was fun. I like the beach also. It was a good day.
But I remember in the one with the tree, I was having a blast, really. It was real. I was laughing for real. And
it was all like this, like short shots, so it was easy to film. You know, it was funny because the thing that they were doing was kind of childish, but it was also like quick, another. And
I remember like Nestor crawling, like
yeah,
crawling, and I was watching him through the bushes, and it was hilarious. It was great. Yeah.
And that one we blocked it there. We didn't have like I knew how I wanted to shoot it because the tree didn't exist, so we needed to make it come to life using the takes, but we kind of block it there.
So we have another question, and it's one we've kind of talked about already, but I'm wondering if you can maybe speak a little bit more on it. Dennis asks if the film is based on personal experiences, which we know it was, but are there any specific moments that you were sort of ripped from personal experience? There are so many finely observed details, like we were talking about the scene with the tea set and the specific cup. That is such a relatable moment. It's like, of course.
Yeah.
People like,
well, actually, there's a lot, and not only mine, also Anita's and another for some friends of ours. Specifically, this thing we were talking about, the poison in the tree. My grandfather used to do that. And I went back, and the tree is no longer there. I think they had to cut it. And this other thing with, I don't know about the teacups. I think that came from a conversation I had with a friend, and she was having trouble with her aunt, not her mother or her grandmother, because family stuff. And it was a way she had to explain me the issue she was having. It was like telling me about this way of asking for a new cup, saying this is dirty, but it's okay, I can use it anyway. So it came from that, for recollecting stories.
And I actually have a question about another specific scene. The opening scene in the film, I think, is it's a very inventive way of sort of introducing everyone and introducing the space of the house without introducing it in kind of these clinical terms of like, here is a blueprint of the house, here is the legalese. Can you talk about that scene and at what point that became the starting point of the film?
Well, it was late in the process, I think. Maybe Agustina can help me here because I wrote so many drafts of the script but it came with the idea of making it louder, and playing it like really like a comedy. It was like, okay, it like if in a classical way, we have to introduce them all at the same time and the issue. And then we can take our time and develop the relationships, but the movie is about this. And the scene in the lawyer kind of office came to life, And I don't remember the moment. I don't remember how it started before. I think it started with they going to the hospital to look for the mother. It started with the crash, or yes. I really don't remember it.
Yes, it was like that. It started with a crash and all that scene. But I think this one was introduced also because of setting a tone and with everybody in place. So it was a nice way of introducing the house and introducing all the characters at the same time, in a way, with the characters, the one that's getting late, the one that, the one that wants to sell, the one that doesn't want to. It's very clarifying of the situation. And then you go with each one of them, no? But it was I think it was a nice way of starting and introducing the tone.
Yeah. Yes, and it's kind of like, okay, this is the conflict, but they have this history. So this is really the conflict, it was like I
also like that you see them sort of waiting, waiting for Silvana to show up. You see them sort of not in action, and then things boil to the surface. It's like a microcosm of the film in that scene. We have another question from our viewing audience. Claire asks, did Silvana, the character, make up the story about the roller skate giving her a black eye? Why a roller skate? Is that a sign of her immaturity?
Okay, go ahead, Romina.
It's a mystery, because this is a mystery film also. Everybody asks that, is it true? I don't know. We think it's true. No, she doesn't make it up. It's the way we live it, and the way we did it is the truth. It's what happened. But people tend to have this doubts because you never know. But it's true. I mean, and if you saw the actor that plays the boyfriend, you could know that he wouldn't kill he wouldn't hit anyone. But no, it's the truth. I don't know, Leti. I don't know if you want to say something from the script. Because
about you roller skating your way through life. Maybe she has like this childish, I don't know, maybe she has them but I think that maybe she is this kind of girl that get excited about stuff and buy roller skates and then stuff them in the closet. Maybe she is, I don't know, or maybe she skates.
In the first scene that you were talking about, she says that she's with her bike. She's riding her bike, so she's a sport. Yeah, she does yoga.
Yeah.
So she could. I think she used to roller skate, and now she doesn't anymore. But yeah.
But why do you have them up in the closet if you use them?
She used to roller skate. I think we're pretty close to wrapping up here. I wanted to ask a final question about sort of the final sequence, this big, like the slapstick sort of the fire and the hose. And can you talk about choreographing that, and then sort of how important you feel that sort of arrangement of that scene is to the rest of the film?
Well, actually, it came together the day that we shot it. Agustina was on set that night. I'm saying this because she wasn't all the day with us, but that day we were all there. I blocked the scene on the spot because I was rehearsing in the living room of my house, so I couldn't stage this getting on fire thing and playing with a hose. And it was, I think that the thing that was really, really the heart of the scene was the actress who plays Lilian, who started doing all these jumps and shouting, and she got really into the scene, and we let her play it in a way, because Nestor was laughing at her and she was throwing water at him, and it was kind of, okay, follow them in a way, we cut it, we have like this moment between Silvana and her mom that was more easy to predict what was going to happen, and this thing, how do you call this in English? Grua?
Crane.
Okay, sorry, what?
The crane.
The crane, okay. So we have this and the fire. We knew how the last shot of the movie was going to be. That was the thing that was more program in a way, and then we block it there, and it was like the energy of the actors that were having like this really silly fight, because it was that, like not make it feel like something that it wasn't. It wasn't a huge catharsis, or it was really childish playing with water, but between grown-ups.
Okay, we have one more from the audience, and I think we got time for. This one is for Agustina. It's from Dalia Klepak. Agustina, as a producer, how did you feel about or respond to the changes that happened within the story as the filming progressed? Because it sounds like it was kind of there was a fluidity and sort of input from a lot of different people throughout the process. How did, as a producer, how did you respond to that?
I didn't understand the question. To the changes of during the process, you mean of the people involved?
Yeah, the changes to the story, or like any adjustments to the script.
No, well, I really think, no, Leti is a director that she's really very meticulous. It sounds like now she's saying that she does this in the set and everything, but she has it in her mind. I mean, she's, one thing is that she gives freedom for things to happen and everything, but she knows exactly what she wants. So it's not that, and we talked about each scene a lot. I mean, I know that what she's looking for in the scene, and I completely trust her and of course the team also, because there are people that we also keep working on it, and we have a lot of meetings, and we know what we want with the film. That's something that it's settled. So sometimes in some moments, maybe when there is a doubt or something that it was not planned and that happened, or these kind of things that happen all the time, yeah, then we can sit down a little bit and rethink about the things, you know, have a dialogue about what's coming next. But when we start the shooting, we know where we're getting to, and I'm completely confident on that, you know. So I go to the shooting, and then I see some scenes and and I only react when there is something that I think that it's completely out of what we were talking together, you know, that it was not the case here. So yeah, it's like kind of knowing each other, knowing that we want to get to the same place, and trusting, I think.
Yeah, you were really involved. I mean, obviously you were, but we talked a lot about the script, and we went to looking for the locations together, and Agustina was involved. I mean, she was there when I chose the casting. I had like the final word, but we sit together, we watch the videos, you know. I show her what I was looking for. And I think we even work on the script more this time together than in the previous film.
Yes, because in the previous film, you were two directors, so maybe there was more dialogue in between. But for example, in this one, we sat together and analyzed the scenes, and we did a lot of work, table work before the. Yeah, I like to work that way, you know. It's like kind of being part of the same film, and having the head, also knowing that she trusts me to get the eye from a little bit, you know, like a step a little bit out of the everyday thing, so you can have this vision of if there's something that it's really not fitting on what we were planning, or something that we have to decide very quickly, and that her head is somewhere else, you know, this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you all have a very close, creative, collaborative process. And I think I can speak for everyone watching, that we're all very excited to see what's coming up next and what you all have in store for us. But for now, I want to thank all of you, Leticia, Romina, and Agustina, for joining us here tonight. And I wanted to congratulate you again on the success of Alelí on Netflix and previously at the festival. And we look forward to seeing what you have next.
Okay, thank you very much. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.